Hi, and welcome to video number 4. In this specific video, you're going to learn how to figure out who your market is, and in other words, what your audience looks like and their likes and dislikes and so forth, so that you can pinpoint that specific person and attract them to your Pinterest boards. Now, the big mistake is this. Don't jump into Pinterest and just start pinning just yet. We're almost there. But we're going to do some planning, do some brainstorming right now to figure out which direction that we need to head. Once you figure out this direction, then you can jump in. Now, if you don't know your audience, then how can you cater to them? Now, you may think you know your audience. However, if you really haven't done the proper research and figure out what your audience's likes and dislikes and so forth are, then you're probably going to waste a lot of time and money. It's very easy to presume, especially if you have a product to sell, that you already know your audience and so forth. In this case, we want to apply what you know about your audience and apply it to what does a Pinterest user looks like. So if you know what a Pinterest user looks like, you can find them, you can follow them, you can figure out what they're posting and pinning and repinning and so forth to understand the psychology in why they do certain things, what they like, what they don't like, and this and that. And that'll give you a better idea of how to attract that type of person. So what do you need to know? We talked about you need to know what your audience looks like. You need to know what they're pinning. You need to know what makes them laugh, what inspires them, what makes them sad, what makes them happy, and so forth and so forth. And I know I talked about this in the previous videos, but we're actually going to figure that out right now. So how to fast track? There's a 3-step process here. First, we're going to want to do a quick demographics check. And second of all, we're going to find out what kind of sites they visit, subject matters they like and dislike and so forth. And third, we're going to use that information that we find and we're going to go on Pinterest and we're going to follow some people and we're going to figure out what they are repinning and pinning so that we can apply what we know to attract that type of person. Make sense? All right, so let me go ahead and show you how to do that. And the first site we're going to go to is Quantcast. What you need to do now is to open up 3 different websites. The first one is called Quantcast.com. The second one is Alexa.com. And the third one is, of course, Pinterest. The first 2 are going to help us figure out in terms of demographics, what kind of sites the audience visits and so forth. So that way we can kind of get an idea of who are in our demographic, who is in our demographics in terms of the majority of people. Are they female? Are they male? Are they a specific age? Are they a specific race, ethnicity? Are they in a specific region? And this and that. The first thing you need to figure out is, what are you promoting? Which business are you promoting? Let's say, for example, that I am promoting a cookbook that deals with desserts, cookies, cakes, cupcakes, and so forth. So in order to figure out demographics, all I need to do is to go to Alexa.com and type in cooking desserts. And what this will allow me to do is to figure out websites that deal with cooking desserts that are some of the top websites. If I can figure out the top websites, for example, this site here has homemade dessert recipes. And I'm going to go to each of these sites. Allrecipes.com is very general. I want a site that deals specifically with cooking desserts. So we got 3 different websites here. We've got homemade-dessert-recipes.com, joyofbaking.com, and extraordinarydesserts.com. So let me go ahead and try to view the statistics. If I click on audience, it gives me the demographics. And as we can see here, now sometimes Alexa will not show the demographics, and Quantcast will actually show a lot in more detail. Now, as we can see here, that the age range is approximately 45 years old up to 65 plus. This is the age range that likes to look for desserts. And of course, that might be skewed by this website. So we'll make sure that we check out the pattern later on with the other different websites. Now, gender-wise, it's obvious that females overrepresent this category, and with children, no children actually overrepresents, which is something I would thought would be the opposite. And of course, browsing location would be home. That doesn't really, we don't need to know that. Education-wise, a lot of these people have some college or college, so they're in between and so forth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop on over to Quantcast.com. Sometimes Quantcast will show you some statistics and sometimes they won't. So if we copy this over to here and we click on search, let's see if we get some results. Okay, good. So we got more results here. So we see right here that it's obvious that females, there's more females here. And in this case, the age is a little different, but has kids, no kids, has kids. And then in terms of how much money they earn, the 50 to 100,000 is the majority, but it seems to be about average. No college and grad school seems to be like the median. And here's the race here. So as we can see, it's kind of similar, a little bit different in certain senses, but I'm going to keep going and look at different websites. We got joyofbaking.com. So I'm going to go to joyofbaking.com and can I get an idea of what they're all about? Okay, good. So they're all about desserts here. All right. So now I know they're all about desserts. I can click on audience. And I see here that it's mostly female. It's about average here. It's about the same as the other one here. In terms of has children, this says that it has more children. So we know that it's probably in between. They either have children or they don't. But we definitely know for sure that gender-wise, they're female. They're probably busy and they have some college or some college here. I'm going to hop on over back to Quantcast and look at joyofbaking.com. And the whole idea here is to compare several websites and see if you can see a pattern. Because you don't want to just look at one website and say, okay, that's how they look like. Let's see, people per month, demographics, definitely female, about average here, average here, average here, average here, and average here. So it's about the same as we saw earlier. Now, in terms of websites, we can see that they visit a lot of cooking websites, as you can see here. And we can see more websites and categories that they're looking at. So this gives you an idea of what kind of person they are. They like to look at food, home, family, home decor and design, magazines, instant messenger. They're probably mothers who are staying at home and have to raise their kids and so forth. Now, that's just what I have in my mind. It could be different, but that's kind of how my mind. So you want to kind of envision in your head what this type of person looks like. And then once you figure out all of this information, you have the data, you know who they are, and you can even give the person a name. You can say, I'm going to give this person the name Stephanie. Okay, this sounds like a Stephanie or something. So let's say that you've given the person the name, you've figured out what they don't like, and figure out what websites they visit. Now you can hop on over to Pinterest.com and then type that in here. So what do you type into Pinterest? Well, simply type in what we saw here, like food, home and family, home and decor. So in this case, we'll just type in desserts. And do a search and just look through. And I would probably click up on one of the things at the top here because this one has 600 likes. And I'm going to click on this. And it was pinned by Samantha. I'm going to click on her. And I'm just going to go through here and try to get an idea of what other things Samantha likes. Food, animals, desserts. And then look at what these comments are. It says, is there a recipe? Yum, that looks good. Is there a recipe? So obviously we can see here that there's already a lot of people who want the recipe. They already see the picture and it looks really good, but they want the recipe. So imagine that you posted something really tasty like this, and then when people ask for the recipe, you could follow them and then send a message to them and say, hey, here's a free recipe from my cookbook. Obviously you want to follow them, have them follow you first. But after that, then you can post the image and then follow that up with a post of possibly the recipe. And you can follow this pattern by giving them a taste of it, giving them the recipe, giving them a taste of it, and possibly eventually saying, hey, oh, guess what? Now I've just released a brand new cookbook and you saw my recipes earlier, you've gotten some taste of it. And with the law of reciprocation in this sense, you've given people a lot of recipes that they may have used and they really like you, then you don't have to sell it. You just say, hey, I got a new cookbook, check it out. If you've liked the previous recipes, you probably like these recipes as well. So that's just something that you want to do before you actually go out and start to create a Pinterest account and begin to follow people. So now you know that, you're armed with this information, we can actually go and create and set up and follow and interact.